Wise Wednesdays started on April 1st with a humble episode on forgiveness. Between then and now, we've had heart-led conversations on happiness, stress management, relationships, resilience, public speaking, respecting boundaries, self-discovery, mindset, just being, listening, reclaiming your life, intuition, and even food. I would like to thank all my listeners and the guests who gave me their time and trust. It is because of you that we kept going. It is because of you that we kept growing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so, so much. Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 35 of Wise Wednesdays. We're relaying today at a different time, and it is because the session is super, super powerful, super, super special. We have on board today MEL LEOW, and he is a catalyst coach. He is the host of hashtag 100 Master Coaches show, wherein he's interviewing 100 master coaches, and he is the head of coaching practice for leadership group. He's a thought leader. He is outstanding in the kind of questions he asked. And so without further ado, I bring to you Mel. Thank you very much for being on the show with us. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure being here, Ruqya. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for saying yes. And for those of you who don't know, Mel is joining us all the way from Australia, and it is 11 p.m. for him over there. So for me, it's a true honor that you've chosen to stay up late and be part of this conversation. And when I invite a guest over, it's always the guest who decides what they'd like to speak on. And when I invited Mel, I realized this is a master coach. And this is someone who is interviewing 100 master coaches. So I thought, what would be more impactful than to ask him about questioning powerfully? Your thoughts on that, Mel?
Yeah, questions are actually much better than answers. I've come to realize that when I was younger in the workplace, before I became a coach, I often went for answers, right? You went to the boss and say, hey, boss, tell me, how can I do this, right? I want to do this right. So you always go for answers. And you know what? The boss would often willingly give you the answers. And I realized when I had children, it's the same thing. It's like, daddy, 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 I want this, I want this, I want this. I'm like, okay, you're asking a lot. And I would say yes. So when people talk about the power of giving the answers, let me say that is also very powerful. But what's more powerful, Ruqya, is questions. Because
Absolutely.
Questions does something to our mind. It actually stops us to allow us to reflect a little bit, isn't it? To think. Sometimes also to make a defense, right? If we're asked the wrong way, we'll be like, what are you asking?
True that.
And so I like to say this. If you want new answers, ask new questions, right? So that's the power of it. Often we ask the same questions, but we want different answers, which cannot be done. So yeah, that's the power of questions for me. Yeah.
True that. And I think we're constantly stuck and not available. I mean, the right answers don't come to us because we're asking the wrong questions.
That as well. I have asked wrong questions in my past. Sometimes the questions can be premature, if you know what I mean. It's like if you ask a lady's hand in marriage too early in the game, it's like, will you marry me? And the lady said, we've only gone out for less than a year. What are you talking about? Right? Oh, it's a question in the wrong timing as well.
Timing does matter. Absolutely.
Yes.
And speaking of timing, I have Cindy who watches me all the time, every show, every daily live that I do. Unfortunately, she's been unable to make it, but she's left us a
Oh,
question, and
okay.
I'm going to read it out for you.
Yeah, sure.
She asks, how long does it take to become a master coach? What exactly does a master coach do that is different from a regular coach, or is there any difference? And what skills do you focus on in your program? So, Cindy,
Okay.
a little background about Cindy is she used to be a teacher. She is an amazing mom, someone who's focusing on herself, and so she doesn't come from the ICF world. So, I think it would be great for you to break it down for us because not everybody here is from the ICF tribe. So, please help us
Okay.
understand.
Yeah. First and foremost, when we ask questions, we ask one question at a time because that came in 3 questions. And Ruqya, I know you know that, but
Yes.
I'm going to answer rather one at a time. So the
Sure.
first one is, how long does it take to become a master coach, right? Actually, I've met master coaches that have taken a shorter period, right? Maybe less than 7 years to even be master coaches. And then I've met master coaches, including myself, that took a little bit longer. I took almost 15 years to get it. Maybe I'm a little bit slower at the game, but so it really doesn't. There's no exact timing for it, right? I think the more important question is, are you ready to be a master coach? And to me, it takes great responsibility. It's not just about it's like a new pin we put here, right? By the way, I've never even worn my pin. It's somewhere around the house. But it's not like you put it up here and you're like, oh, I have arrived. To me, it's a start of a new journey, right? So even if you are or you're not, it's okay because we're all on the journey towards our coaching excellence, right? Now, for those who do not know what all this is about, all these acronyms is about, the ICF, which stands for International Coach Federation, is the governing body that we are a part of, Ruqya and myself. And we, in a sense, allow the body to regulate us, in a sense, because it's a self-regulated industry. So it's kind of good to be part of a body that actually can give the guidelines of the ethics and the core competencies and the so-called, the black and whites of what is coaching, right? By the way, the ICF is the biggest and it's often called the gold standard, but obviously there are other bodies out there as well in the world. But with the ICF, there are 3 credential levels. ACC, that's the Associate Certified Coach. That is 100 hours of coaching practice, plus, of course, the hours of learning. PCC is at 500 hours, and, of course, the learning as well. And for MCC, or PCC stands for Professional Certified Coach, and MCC stands for Master Certified Coach at the level of 2,500 hours and above. So it does take a while to kind of gather those hours and also be ready to, for me at least, to be ready to live up to the responsibility of that in a sense title, right? But to me, the title is not important. It is the essence of the person, the coach, serving the coachee. So that's where I feel is. I know there are other questions. Can you please, Ruqya, repeat it to me?
I will. So the other question is, what exactly does a master coach do that is different from a regular coach, or is there any difference?
Okay. Again, it's through the learning as we practice our craft. It's obviously the art and science of coaching. It's both. And the difference is actually our ability to be in the conversation, but not felt in the conversation. It's like our presence is there in a coaching conversations, but we allow at that level, we're supposed to allow that creative space, that safe space for the coachee to be able to connect with her beliefs, values, something deeper than just the surface thing. So in a sense, it is the skill side of it is the ability to listen at a much deeper level, right? To connect with the coachee at a much deeper level. And that takes time to master, or that takes time to practice. And as we learn it, as we embody it, as we call it, as we embody that, the more it becomes part of us. Like for me now, I don't ask too many questions in a coaching session anymore. I try to minimize my presence in the session and just ask what's essential. Yeah. So in a way that's the, I would say the difference between what we call transactional coaching, which, you know, as a younger coach, and I've done that as well, we often want to get the coachee towards an outcome, right? It's like, okay, what is the goal? What is the reality and the options and the outcome? Okay, we've done coaching. Yeah. And then we realize that it's a lot deeper than that. Sometimes it could be about a person's identity. Sometimes it could be about this person's insecurity of a certain conversation that they've had and relationship with someone at work. So we've got to be able to get down deeper and allow the coachee to rise up herself, to discover all the layers as she comes out, and appreciate that growth along the way as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to address her third question a little later into our conversation, because there's this really brilliant question that Johnny has asked. He says, what is readiness to be a master coach?
What is readiness to be a master coach? Oh, I'll tell you, Johnny, thanks for the question. There was a time when I didn't feel worthy to be one. And that's the truth. I'm just saying it. It's probably the first time I ever say that on a live show.
Thank you for the trust.
You're welcome. And I think it's because of my layers of upbringing, right? It's a lot of times getting brought up in a very Asian community. It's all about performance, right? And so when it's all about performance, I often will feel like I have to live up to someone else's expectations. Yeah. And with that comes the pressure. With that comes the giving up as well, because after a while you're like, oh my gosh, it's not worth it anymore. I think, you know, maybe I don't deserve it. And we start talking down on ourselves with those voices in our head, right? And those voices will ask us questions as well. Who do you think you are? Why do you need to deserve this? You think you're so great. So all those voices, and I'm not saying that it is something that I can't control. Of course we can. There are different ways we can control the voices in our mind. But in our downtime sometimes, and we all do have our ups and our downs, and it will come in perhaps a little bit stronger wave, right? It comes and we're like, oh yeah, who am I? Who am I to have a podcast? That's something I've also asked myself, Ruqya.
Is it?
As I started this journey, it's not just the being a master coach. It was also the next thing. It was being a podcaster, right? It's like, now you think you can be a podcaster. Oh my gosh, you don't know what it takes,
Who would listen?
Exactly. So I know I'm going a little bit of a roundabout way of answering your question, Johnny. But sometimes, you don't feel worthy enough for this, ready enough for this. And I guess the question that I ask myself is, what is the greatest intention behind it? And when I ask the intention question, then I realize that, is it just for me? Or is it, as per my purpose, is to empower the next generation of catalysts to live and be brave? That is my ikigai statement for my life. And when I reconnect back with that, suddenly the questions and the doubts and that hesitant of moving forward just goes away a little bit. It's still around, but just a little bit, just for a while. For a while. And we get into some action, right? And it's about activation that creates that muscle memory. Even in our brain, as you know it, when we take action, it creates that momentum, that habitual steps. And so, yes, it is somewhat like you will know when you're ready. There is no exact timing. Like for me, I took 2 years to apply for it and gone through the whole recordings, and I did not pass the first time, and so it went through all of that, and I'm so thankful that I did not throw it in the towel, which I actually attempted to do. So it is really about how you and I would ask that questions. Then that question of that intentionality will help us on our responsibility and our response to whatever step. And for me, it was to be saying to myself that I am now a master coach. Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing, it's almost as though it's when you are ready to say to yourself that you are a master coach is when the readiness happens.
Yeah, because there are other people, right? There are people who say, "Oh, Mel, you're already my mentor. You're already my master coach. I already call you master coach." And there were many people that called me master coach before I was. And seriously, I was not ready. Wasn't ready. So yeah, you are right, Ruqya. And even when I got the badge, right? Even when I got the badge, I looked at it, I'm like, and I had to overcome those things. And it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing that we all go through to be able to stand for what we believe in. And so today I believe I am intentionally making a difference as a master coach out there. Yeah.
Yes, you are. And we are lucky that you did not throw in the towel. So
thank you.
So you're welcome. We have a few questions that have come in, and if you'd like, you can look at them by looking at the comments on the side and decide which one you'd like to pick up and speak on. So we have Adam, who has been my coach in the past, and we worked together. And we have Kunain and Srinivas and Junit. So please feel free to pick a question that you'd like to address.
Sure. Yeah, Adam says, wow, okay, so less questions, just ask what is central. Yep, that's right. I've learned how to do that. How important is ICF to have as a coach? That's a good question, Adam. I feel it's a responsibility as a coach to represent coaching in the most excellent way. By the way, that's a choice of mine, and it's a choice for everyone, right? For some, they associate themselves with another body or a certain school, which is also fine, right? So I'm not here to kind of say, you know, the ICF's the best and everyone who's not that, it's going to be worse stuff. But there are benefits. I'll be frank with you. There are benefits to be part of it. And I would say I have been a recipient of those benefits through the years. And I've been a member of the ICF since 2007. So it's been 13 years as a member of ICF. I've served on 2 boards before, local boards, once in Malaysia and one in Australia. And hopefully one day I'll serve, I get a chance to serve on the global board. And I feel that it is very important. In fact, that was the first thing I did after I graduated, right? It's like I asked myself, are there groups of coaches out there, right? It's like, where are they, right? Because I was looking for community, right?
Right.
Not so much, I guess, at the start professionalism that ICF brings, but I was looking for a community. So I started that way. I started looking out for my peers, my seniors that I can learn from. So I felt that for me at the start, it was more so about the connections with other coaches, right? Because it's kind of a lonely journey, right? Don't you think, Ruqya? Right? If you're going out there and doing on your own, I think, you know, encourage all coaches not to do it on their own. If you have an alumni, even of the graduates from your school, please continue to connect with them, right? That's the first level of community. And then, of course, ICF is a global community. So I love it because when I travel, the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh my gosh, there are family members. I call them like family members all across the world. Like, so if I am in Germany, I remember the time I was in Germany, I kind of called up the German, the local chapter, but it was obviously a few hundred miles away. Couldn't get there, so didn't get a chance to go there, right? But it's a constant reminder for me as well that it's about professionalism. So to me, it is important, not just for the connection, but for the professionalism of our craft. It's like, for example, if you are an accountant and you're very serious about it and you become a chartered accountant, right? You would want to be part of a global body, right? That would regulate chartered accountants worldwide. So in that sense, that is that connection piece and professionalism. But there's a third piece. The third piece is continuous education, because as part of the body, we get to learn from other wonderful coaches worldwide. And we can actually attend the other chapters programs and earn different units of our continuous coaching education units, CCEUs.
Yes.
And that adds on to our credentialing and the continued renewal of our credentialing. But more importantly for me, it's about the learning, right? So we're not saying, oh, I have arrived here and there's no more learning for me. So it's about that stretch as well. So
absolutely.
Thanks,
and
Adam.
I completely hear you when you talk about community, because I didn't realize what it was that I'm building over here with the work that I'm doing on my platforms. I call my people my circle of genius. So and I was beautiful. Thank you. I was in Melbourne when somebody messaged me on the page.
Oh,
I was doing a live in that alley which has all the graffiti, and
graffiti, yeah.
yes, and I had tagged the place. So someone messaged me saying, "I've been on
Oh,
your page
wow.
since 2 years now, and I'd love to meet with you." And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
I didn't quite get it. I thought, okay, am I supposed to, what they say about stranger, danger, and all of that,
Yes.
all the bells and
Beware.
whistles, beware. So I visited her profile, I checked out, and true enough, she had been on my page for a while. So I said, okay, let's go meet her. And so I met her, and it was so wonderful to meet someone who's been taking value from the work. And so I
Yeah.
do get it when you say a sense of community. There's that African proverb, isn't it? When you want to go fast, you go alone. When you want to go far, you go
Yeah.
together. So
Yeah.
that's so important. More questions for you. I can see this is a fascinating conversation. Guys, I promise you it's going to be powerful.
How do you identify the limiting beliefs of your coachees? Wow.
Great question.
Actually, yeah, there are many ways actually, but what I do is I again make it really simple. I don't ever want to judge it and say, "Ooh, this is a limiting belief," right? I would listen in on important keywords. Like yesterday, I had a session and it was with my coaches, 8 of them on the call, and they were talking and they were doing round robin coaching, just a couple minutes, and I would give them feedback. So it's a feedback session. And one of them talked about the area of excellence, right? And how important it is, to have something like almost perfect before they release it on social media, and I get that, right? We are also on social media, so we're like, oh my gosh, we've got to be very careful how it looks and la 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 and all that. And then she said, but this is the reason I have stopped posting. Aha. Aha. That's right. So the word excellence may not be an alarm bell going, but when she says, yeah, and that's because that's the reason I've stopped posting for a few months. It's not a few weeks, or days. It's a few months. So there is that little bit of that bells going off, and I did stop and ask the person about that. I didn't say, there you go, that's your limiting belief. No. Again, we seek permission, we create a safe space, and I often say this. It could be in a question like this. I say, I've noticed that this word excellence is important to you. Tell me more, right? So that's for understanding of, and kind of opening up what excellence means to her. And then the other one could be about the area of the fear of getting it wrong, right? Or because they want it perfect, right? So I would ask her something like, I noticed, or I heard what you said just now, so I could mirror it back to her and saying, you've not been writing over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? And those are the times when we help them understand that limiting belief. And it is true, it is a limiting belief, but I don't feel it's right for us to call it out and to name it. We want them to be the one to say, what's stopping you? If I ask them a question, so what's stopping you, right? Then they can expound on the meaning behind the word. So that is the power of understanding where they're stuck at. So limiting belief is all about that. It's about where we're stuck in our thought process. And I know you're an NLP trainer as well, Ruqya.
Yep.
So it's just not connecting, right? It's like the parts not integrated, right? It's just that.
Yeah.
So we've got to we've got to kind of align it back to
Helps it.
it being integrated. So
Absolutely.
it meets, yeah.
And then you have the connection and that aha moment, where the light bulb moment, as some people
And
say.
they realize. And then again, we can ask another question there, right? It's like, what are you noticing? Right? What is happening? Right? What new insight did you get from that? So we allow them to explore what they are sensing about that. And so it doesn't become like a bad thing, right? We're not saying this is bad and that is right. We're saying that it is possible. Everything is possible when you break it out, when you make it into small sentences. And so just continuing with that, I kind of asked her, what's important about writing a blog? Right? And then she was stuck for a while and said, it's okay. If you can say it in 3 or 4 words, what is it? And she managed to say those words. And I said, out of those words, what is the most important word that resonates with you deep inside? And she said this word. She says, it's the word encourage. I'm like, wow. So that's the word, encourage. Now, if I could, if you could do just one small little thing about that word encourage, what would you do? She thought about it and she's like, instead of writing a long blog, I could just put quotes, encouraging quotes. Suddenly a light bulb moment came for her. And it was like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And then we stopped there because we had to continue with other people talking. But it's just those little moments, and we listen in and help them understand what they're facing. Yeah, we call it limiting beliefs, but I don't ever use those words with my coachee, because it's like using doctor jargons, right? When a doctor talks to us, we're like, can you repeat that in English, please? Right? So I try to, as much as possible, make it so basic that anyone can grasp it and anyone can say, yeah, I can work on that. I want to work on that. Yeah.
Yep.
I hope that helps.
I'm sure it did. So we have another question from Junit.
Sure.
He says, can you please explain more on muscle memory?
Sure. Our mind is like a muscle. So just as simple as that. Our mind is like any muscle, right? The more we use a muscle, right, the more it grows, right? Scientifically, obviously, it builds, the veins strengthen and all different parts are strengthened and all that, right? I give you a very fascinating example here. If you look at how the Rock, you know who the Rock is? Dwayne Johnson, the Rock, right?
Yes.
If you look at the Rock 10 years ago, right, he was doing a lot of weight still. And 10 years later, and put 2 pictures of the Rock together, it's the same man. But today you can see his muscles are a lot more ripped. Even
Chiseled.
as he grown older, chiseled to the like, wow. I can't imagine 10 years later. And even though he's maybe older, but it's a continuous. So muscles are like that. Similar to our brain. When we want to do something new, right? Like exercise. One of the things our brain will do is remind us of all the pain that exercise brings. Okay. It's like, oh no, you are not a runner, Mel. Remember you had cramps before, right? So there's one part of the brain that will just show you all those things again that was painful, right? And yes, I would agree with that. I was like, yeah. I am not a runner. My legs were not meant for running and all this kind of excuses. But when I started to do it, because I had to, Ruqya, I had a little condition and a little scare. I thought I had a mini heart attack. It was tight. Went for a checkup and everything, and it was clear. Thank goodness it was clear.
Thank God.
But the key thing, it was a scary moment, right? And suddenly I realized that, oh my gosh, what if I had a real heart attack, right?
Yeah.
But now that I didn't, what do you want to do, Mel? Then I realized, okay, I've got to do something about my my couch potato life, right? It's like I don't really like to exercise, right? And so I started. So I started walking, just walking, right? Because don't get me running. Started walking. Walking became brisk walking. I started doing every day without fail, every day. And I had this thing called the Fitbit in those days. And I timed it, make sure the Fitbit had 10,000 steps every day. And that was the key for me. I went on a habit, and the more I did it, the more I realized I was building muscle memory, in a sense that this kind of muscle memory is in our brain telling us, right, in our neural pathway, saying that now there is a need to do exercise. So the thing is, the more we do something, it could be anything, by the way. I just gave you the example of exercise. It could be anything that you and I want to do, right? And that will build a new pathway. Even thinking positively, right?
Absolutely.
It's a new neural pathway, because our brain constantly thinks about the threats, right? So we are on a threat response, right? So it will always be on an alert, right? But when we say that it's okay to think another way, to think positively, we actually build the muscles, right? And it continuously gets strengthened to become a super highway, First, it may be a 1-lane road, right? And then it becomes a 2-way road. And then it becomes thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And then it becomes a part and parcel of our lives. And that makes a difference, right? So it's about that. Our brain, our mind, everything can be trained in such a way to build habits that can last. Yeah. So that's what we call, in a way, what muscle memory is. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you were sharing about the highway, I remembered about these the caves where you have water dripping down, the icicles. And then with every drop, it kind of suddenly becomes these fat pillars that are literally holding the cave up. So even a single drop has that impact. Yeah. So it makes a difference. Okay. Absolutely. Thank you. We've got another question here from Johnny, who says, what is craft of coaching that you refer to, Mel?
Thanks, Johnny. You are really listening in to what I'm saying. Yes. The craft here is I call it the art side of coaching. So I would say that my craft of coaching may be different from another master coach, right? It is based on all of my conditioning, all of my experiences that I have with coaching. So over time, that craft is built. I used to do taekwondo when I was young, right? So it's martial arts, right? And when I reached black belt, I realized that the patterns that we do in karate is called the kata, right? So you do certain moves, right? So that's also part of muscle memory, right? Yep. Because in the case, just to answer that part, when someone hits you, it's muscle memory. You just go like that. It's quick, immediately, right? So yeah. So anyway, talking about the craft, as I was doing it, it's become so accustomed because it's part of the muscle memory, it's part of all of that, and I just do it so fluidly. And then I realized my master, who was a 9 Dan. 9 Dan is like super senior Jedi Yoda level, okay? and my master would just say, let's come, give me a punch as a demonstration. And I was like, okay, sure, master. Okay, let me do it. Yeah. And he would be like, he didn't even, he was talking to the student, say, punch me. He was like, I'm like, wow. And it's painful. It's painful because he's just like, it's like his hands are like made of steel. It's like, oh my gosh, that's the craft that he's built over time. That it's that discipline, that tenacity, that resilience, that movement. He's done it so well that it not just becomes a reflex, but it becomes like a dance, you know, and that's a craft by itself. So when you watch coaches coach, you can actually kind of see their dance movements because it is like a dance.
Yes.
The coach and the coachee. And when you watch them dancing, you can see that sometimes the coach will do a bit of pacing. Sometimes they go a little faster, a little slower, a little intense, then a little softer. Now that's all the craft of coaching. And that's experience. I mean, it comes with experience. It comes with having coached thousands of hours. Then you begin to realize that, it becomes part of you. And it becomes through you, that it is not just coming from your brain. Because I remember when I was a younger coach, I was so scared of coaching. I tell you the truth. Why? I was so scared to ask the wrong questions. And so what happened is I wrote down all the questions I knew on one side. And I highlighted those questions. They were superpower questions, right? It's like, wow, this one we're going to make them go, aha, I got it. And I get online with them. It was online, right? It's like, oh, now I've got a powerful question for you. Right? It's like, what's possible right now? Wow. It's like, I thought I was doing something great, but I realized that when I did not have my paper on the side, I would struggle because I just kept on going in my brain and I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying. I was like thinking of the next question. I was like, oh my God, what do I ask now? So over time, and that's why I say one of the most important things I've learned for myself is, yes, practice is important. Going through and understanding the questions are important. But at the end of the day, when we're facing our coachee, the dance has started.
Absolutely.
And when the dance starts, we're just flowing and it's fluid and it's beautiful. Because at the end of the day, my purest, deepest focus is to serve the coachee. And so I've forgotten about myself, you know, it's gone. And yet there is that dance happening because I have become that flow. Yeah. I hope that kind of answers that. I know it's a bit out there as an answer, but yeah.
It definitely answers that. And I'm just going to give everyone a moment to let that sink in because that was so precious. I have a question for you. You know,
Sure.
thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. We know that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I like that very much.
And thank you. And when results, when you get your results again reinforce the thoughts you had. Right? So to break a pattern, do you address the thoughts or do you tweak the results you're looking for?
The question is, to me, is the pattern serving you first or not? Absolutely. That is the question.
That is the question.
And if it's not serving the person and yet the person wants to continue with it, then it's the ripple effect will continue, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some who says, I want to continuously do this because it has gotten me results, in the past, right?
In the past.
So this is the right way to do it, right? And so what happens is I could move in any direction, actually. It doesn't have to be just at the top, at the thoughts and switching the thoughts and then impacting the emotions, impacting the actions, like the CBT cycle, right? It is not a linear way of doing it, actually. For me, it's where the person is at, where the person is stuck at, and where the person wants to be rescued or not. And when the person is ready, then I'll ask them, how do you feel about it? And it could be randomly. I could be saying thoughts, feelings, whatever. But I could even say, is the action still aligned with what you're after? Right? So if there is no alignment, then the journey begins, right? Which means there is that edginess. Is like, maybe it doesn't work all the time. Let's try something new. So they're open. It's very important to allow the space for the coachee to be open towards something new, right? And not force them into that, saying you've got to change your thoughts, then it will change the ripple effects. So I often would kind of help them where they're at, help them kind of decipher if they're going to stay there or they're ready to move forward. Very simple, right? And when they're ready to move forward, then I would say, so where do you want to begin? Simple question. Where do you want to begin? And I don't even have to say, what are you thinking about? What are you feeling about? I just say, where do you want to begin? And they say, well, I kind of feel like I want to take this action. So if they say action first, right? We can even move that I call it up the river to emotions. I could say, okay, when you have done this action, what would that make you feel? So again, it's an enhancement of the action, right? And then when you think about it after they said something, right? What are the thoughts that you are actually shifting from what you were doing before? Right. So I'm allowing them to compare for themselves. Yeah, actually, when I was doing this, thinking about this, that's why So now going back up this way for them to self-evaluate, because at the end of the day, when they get it, it's much better than us telling it. That's where you were stuck in. This was your limiting belief, and this was the trigger, and this was that, and this was that. And I used to do that as a coach because it made me feel so good to be able to be so sharp. Like Coach Mel is super sharp. He can point out where I'm stuck. Oh my gosh, no, I've realized that was just ego getting in the way.
True that.
Just me wanting to grab the agenda of the coachee and not good.
Not good. I have a metaphor that I use for coaching. For me, I feel a coach is like a lantern. And I feel, and I don't know why caves seem to be the topic in my head today, but I feel like the client's mind is probably like this really dark cave where you walk with them. And then you have the capacity to kind of increase the flame and decrease it, to hold the lantern in a particular way to either amplify where the light goes, or to kind of hold it within yourself for those times that you have to walk closer and it's a little, difficult. So it's just up to you as a coach what you want the client to see, how much and how far even. So
I like that. And I'm gonna, is it okay if I add on to that visual picture? I often would also say, this is your lantern. And then I'll ask them to go to those places that are dark if they're ready. Go to the places of their choice to brighten up. So they have the choice to hold their own lantern whilst I am walking beside them, right?
Yeah.
My metaphor, if I may share,
yes, please.
Ruqya,
Yes, please.
For coaching, and I've heard this from my other mentor coaches before me, is they've said that coaching is, as a coach, we hold up a mirror to our coaches. Yes. And I add on with that, because when you hold up a mirror, the mirror is not see-through, right? When you hold up a mirror, like if I hold up a mirror to you right now, right? All you can do is to see you.
Right.
You don't see me anymore. So true. I'm not there to influence, to distract, to lead you somewhere that you thought you're lost. So I've got to take you somewhere. I don't do much, actually. I'm just holding up the mirror. And yes, sometimes I would ask questions that will shift the mirror. The questions are the versions of mirror shifts.
Whoa. Because right.
If I ask a certain question that helps you understand your predicament in 10,000 feet, then you realize, oh my gosh, yeah, it's a little different up there, right? Versus down here, right smack face in the mirror, right so close to you, could see all your blemishes. And I have got a lot. I'm so close to the mirror, and it's a bit daunting, right? So I often would not put it in one space. I would often just, like a dance again, right? Move it slowly to the comfort and readiness of the coachee, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's my little metaphors, because you shared about the wonderful lantern. I'll share the wonderful mirror to the audience.
Absolutely. And that's so important to understand coaching from your own perspective. And I have with me Divya, who's watching as well. She says another similar metaphor, the Kodega says, holding space, providing comfort, and gently guiding. Johnny says the invisible coach, the angle of the mirror. And before I missed that question, Srinivas asked a very nice question about how do we develop intuition?
Wow. That's a tough one, huh? We develop it by practicing it. I realized that when you and I come with the full intention of really wanting to serve the other person, we remove our own expectation, our own motive behind it, our own assumptions we put into it, right? So it comes very pure, in a pure sense. And when it comes in a pure sense, then the intuition will be pure. It's not muddled with our own gut feel, like we sometimes do have a gut feel on something, sometimes to defend something, sometimes to kind of reflect back something. But when it comes as the purest sense, and it comes to just serve the coachee, And I often use that as a permission given thing. So for example, I may intuitively feel that suddenly some little bit of that micro expression on your face changes just a little bit while you were talking about family, right? So suddenly your breath went lower, and and my family, it's good, yeah. And you know, when people say that, they're like, and so when you catch that, and again, it's not that you want to be so curious, like, oh, tell me about that secret. You know, it's not that. It's like, and I would check it because I may have read it wrongly, right? So, but by not checking it, I'm not practicing my intuition. Get it? So as a coach, the more we practice it, the more, of course, we gain a little bit of understanding of what our intuition is telling us. Yeah. So I often would check in with the coachee and say, I notice that when you were speaking about your family, you felt a little bit different. Again, I'm using clean language here. I don't want to say you look down. You look like you wanted to cry. You know, clean language. You looked a little different. And then she would say, or the person would say, yeah, I was thinking about my father who has passed away, and I didn't get a chance to say something to him. And it often, whatever, right? Sometimes they may say, no, nothing. And if it's nothing, let's move on. Okay. Don't push it, right? It's like, no, I noticed, really, I noticed. No, just say, okay, no worries. Yeah. So it's by, go ahead.
So the need to be right has to kind of just set aside, because I guess when you are pushing your ego in is when you want to be right about what you've observed, and you're enforcing it.
Absolutely. And as I said, the more we can understand our role, but the quicker, the better we serve our coaches. I often tell the class of coaches that I work with, I say, remember, it is not about you. It is. It's all about your coaches. And so don't make it about you.
Absolutely, don't make it about you. I know we're kind of coming to the close of the hour, but I have one question, and I feel it would be unfair if I didn't ask you this. So people tend to question the questions. Coaches, even sometimes we tend to question the questions. So what is the intention of self-doubt?
Could you repeat that again?
So what is the intention of self-doubt? When you're questioning your questions, what could be the intention of self-doubt?
I actually don't 100% get your question, but I'll kind of attempt it. Are you saying we do that? We question why people are asking us question as a coach, or
no? As in us as a coach, we tend to kind of, before asking a question, we sometimes get confused whether we should. You know, we think that, oh, would that be the right question to ask?
Got it.
So we have self-doubt. Yeah.
Got it. It's mainly because we we doubt ourselves, our ability, our question, our process. I often say to the younger coaches, trust the process. Don't just jump in and save the coachee. The coachee's not drowning. If the coachee was drowning, right, it's not coaching anymore, right? The coachee is is not broken. The coachee is whole. The coachee is creative. The coachee is knowing what he or she wants. So when we as coaches come to the play, the dance, right? Yes, we need to know our craft. Yes, we need to know our craft. You need to be confident with our craft. But for me, it's just release your question. Don't stop and think whether that's a right question or not, because it actually, think about it. Every question you ask, if you really thought about it, it is to serve the coachee and not you.
Absolutely.
Then it will make a lot of the difference. I heard Marshall Reynolds, who's a guest on my show, say this. Remember, we are coaching the person, not the problem.
Not the problem.
Right? And often we try to be, coaches do try to be a bit smart. We're trying to like come up with some strategy, and it's like, oh, I want to come back to this topic and discover this with you. I mean, if the coachee doesn't want to go there, don't go there, right? Maybe the coach is not ready to go there, right? Don't be like the hero that you need to save them, right? And worst of all, don't be that person that that you need to ask the 20 questions that you prepared, because that will create a whole. It's like a Q&A, right? It's like you have to go through the same loops. It's never going to be the same. I've coached hundreds of people, and every person is different in front of me. Every person, CEOs and a CEO and a CEO, totally different. The word is totally different. So if I just want to formulate it, it's not going to work, right? So don't kind of second guess yourself and try to get the perfect question, because there is no perfect question. But to me, it's keep things simple.
Absolutely.
Simple. Shorter questions is more powerful than lengthy questions, right? Or double questions, right? Just keep it simple. And through time, you will realize that the process works when you really focus on the coachee and not on your ability to do something to the coachee. It's like, I'm going to give you an aha moment. It's not like magic, okay? Even magic is fake, right? It is just a sleight of hand, right? This is deeper. This is transformation work, and trust the process, and also believe in the human potential of the coachee in front of you. And when you do that, then your work is easy. Actually, it's the most easiest work to do, because it is simple. You're just dancing, and dancing is supposed to be fun, right? I don't know about you, but I love dancing. And if you ask me to dance, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do my thing, right?
True that.
Sorry.
In the moment, in the now. So yes. We have one question that came in. Josephine asks, what constitutes a short question?
Yeah.
And I'm going to make this the last one, guys. It's already 12 for where Mel is at the moment. I'm very, very grateful that he has joined us. I'm also very grateful that you all have tuned in and taken value from this conversation, as I promised. Thank you, Mel, once again. And Josephine, great question.
It's my pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Short questions. It's like this, Josephine. I'll give one for you. So the coachee is talking, and I'm listening. And so, and the coachee starts talking again.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit of that? So it's just keeping it really, really concise so that our airtime, remember, our airtime gets less. Right? The airtime of the coachee gets more because we're asking open-ended, simple question, and we're just giving a person an ear to listen, and we're so intensely present with them. My gosh, I love people who will listen to my problems. You know what I mean? If we have a problem and we talk to someone, right? The people that I don't like to talk to are the ones that will say, "Hey, stop, Mel, stop. I tell you, when I went through that situation, it is okay. I get you. Okay, you've now made it about yourself, right? So it's about that. Less is more.
Absolutely. And I like what Adam adds here. He says, a short question could be repeating the word in a different tone. Shows it's a question to go deeper.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Thank you.
Once again. Thank you very much for being on board. It was really, really insightful. Everyone's taken lots of value, lots of benefit. Thank you for your time, Mel. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
It's my pleasure. Catch you guys.
Good night. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.